I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and it's part 2 of the dogfight battle between the Note 3 and the LG G2. It's the best of the best from Samsung and from LG. Which one will come out on top? We'll find out in part 2. In part 2 of the Galaxy Note 3 versus the LG G2 dogfight, we're taking a look at the user interfaces and what these devices bring to the table in terms of value adds in the software. Increasingly, that's becoming a very important thing because you look and you see quad-core processors everywhere and 2 or 3 gigabytes of RAM and 13 megapixel cameras. The way devices, the way OEMs are distinguishing themselves these days are through software value adds, and it's important to have that ecosystem and those software features regardless of whether you use them on a daily basis or not, because quite frankly, somebody else might use those on a daily basis. It's part 2 of the dogfight battle. We're going to dive right in, but before I do that, special thanks to my partners at Best Buy Mobile. They give us devices like the Note 3 and like the G2 for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They're going to get your email, your web set up, and all that stuff, and more importantly, they're unbiased. So whether it's Verizon or AT&T or Sprint or even T-Mobile that works best in your area, they'll help you find what works for you and what's within your budget at Best Buy Mobile. So we'll take a look here at the Note 3 and the G2 because they both bring some pretty nice little customization options and value adds to the table. First, we'll take a look at some of the improvements to the S Pen on the Note 3. The S Pen, as you would expect, is still here on this device. Really a nice content creator here. I see a lot of use for this device between the professional or the class person that's taking notes, the student rather that's taking notes, the class person. That's definitely a good acronym, or a good hyphenated phrase, class person. I don't know if that's even hyphenated. That's not hyphenated. Clearly, I need some more coffee. But you can see the S Pen's been improved here. You can insert this device or insert the S Pen both ways into the Galaxy Note 3 now. You don't have to worry about it lining up or anything like that. It's still got the button here, and you've got a wealth of opportunities with the S Pen. One of my favorites includes Air Command, where I press and hold here, for example, and this is exclusive to the Note 3 on the smartphone side right now. And you can see quick access to Action Memo, Scrapbooker, Screen Write, S Finder, and Pen Window. Now, I use quite a few of these on a pretty regular basis. You can see Scrapbooker, for example. One of my favorite things to do is I can come in here and say, you know what, Internet, let's take a look at, and I'm not actually saying hi to the Internet, but I'm saying, let's say, for example, I want to scrapbook this. Actually, you know, I'll tell you what, let me press and hold there. We'll scrapbook, and let's go through here. Yep, I will collect it in Scrapbook. We'll draw, for example, this. I did not mean to do that, but you get the idea. I can put this in my scrapbook, and I can create a category if I wanted to. So I can create a folder for Phone Dog, I can create a folder for work, I can create a folder for technology, whatever the case may be here. I can just stick it in my general scrapbook, and I've got access to that right there. I find this really useful for something like an Instagram, for example, where it's harder to save the pictures without screenshotting. I can just crop around the pictures, throw them in my scrapbook, and see those for later. Something that's really useful. Another one I use on a pretty regular basis, or I should say I like a lot, is Pen Window. So we'll come in here, for example, I can draw a box. So let's say I'm browsing the web and I'm like, oh man, I need to call the vet for the cat. And I can do that, and then I can say, hey phone, and phone will pop up right here, and I can either minimize it and have a little phone icon, or I can maximize it and it'll open up the full application itself. There's a wealth of opportunities with the S Pen. They've really improved this all around, and again, there's something for everybody here, which is really nice, and I see a lot of great productivity use cases to come out of this. One of my favorites also, Action Memo. Double tap on the screen, I can bring up an Action Memo as you see here, and I can say, you know what, call 555-1234 for haircut, and I can come in here, and I've got a bunch of different options, and by highlighting over, I can see those options minimized. I've got background color. I can change the Post-it note or the Action Memo note color here. I've got eraser. I've got link to action. This one's pretty decent. Drawing a line around it. So let's say, you know what, I'm going to throw this into my contacts, for example, and I could say the name is Call Haircut, the mobile is 555-1234. So a ton of personalization and customization options over on the Note 3, and we're just getting started, as you can see. Go ahead and exit out of that one. Over here on the G2, you don't get the S Pen. You don't quite get the customization options that you would get with the S Pen, but you get some pretty decent stuff over here that I find pretty useful all around. One of my personal favorites, and I found this on previous LG devices, but I still enjoy this one, is the ability to change the icon. So for example, messaging here, let's say I don't want that icon. I want to customize it and make it an M. I can do that quickly and easily and make it my own. I can also change Chrome, for example, and just come over here and edit each one of these and scroll up and down and find the one, let's say for browser. I like that a little bit better. Let's do that for browser. And I can say Chrome, and I can go right in and activate that, and it shows up on my home screen. So there's some customization there. Also, customization obviously on both of these devices with the included accessory, or with the non-included accessories rather. Things like the S-View cover over here and things like LG's variant of a cover. Let's see here, for example, we'll go to we'll go to accessory. Jump into accessory and we'll say, you know what, S-View window color. I can come in here and change the window color for my respective S-View cover. So let's say I have an orange S-View cover. I can line it up, or I can change it to something I like. Maybe I like purple, maybe I like blue or red. I can save that, and it gives me some level of customization there on this device, even with the S-View cover here. And you can see over here, screen timeout, all the stuff you would expect, daydream, auto rotate screen, brightness, home screen, lock screen. Got a couple of different options in the lock screen as well. Screen swipe effect, you got some weather animation stuff. So you do get a reasonable level of personalization you would expect from a high-end smartphone, but even more so, you get little things that I like, again, like I talked about in part one, like the ability to customize these bottom buttons. Of course, you've got a wealth of options when it comes to widgets and wallpapers. And then going right back in, you can see one of my favorites. We'll go into lock screen. Actually, we'll go into home screen, or swipe effect. Let's go ahead and do this. White light. And let's go ahead and change the screen. Oh, keep the screen lock as swipe. Double tap to turn it off. And then turning it back on, you can see that changed itself. So that animation changed. You have the option to change that. You can change the swipe effect here as well. So when you're swiping between home screens, you can make it look different and more. So there's quite a few opportunities on both of these devices to customize them and make them your own, which I think increasingly, particularly in 2013, 2014, customization is the name of the game. So the more you have, the better it is to make it your own. It's kind of like the face plates of 2013 and 14, as opposed to back in 04, 05, where we were all customizing with different colors. It's coming back to an extent. You can see Motorola retrying that strategy, but really nice to be able to customize from the user interface itself. This S Pen, though, huge for content consumption, huge for content creation, great for meetings, great for things like that and more. So I can go into Samsung here, and I've got my gear manager. If I had a Galaxy Gear, I could pair this up. Right now it works just with the Note 3, but I've got all my Samsung applications here as well. Pinup is a nice little option, S Translator, and I can come down here. You know what, we'll go back here, for example, and say S Note, and it'll load up S Note, and we can take a look at that. Start. You know what, select the cover style. I'm going to go ahead and say that cover, actually, both those covers. We'll choose blank. And so I've got some templates I can start from here. I'll go ahead and set that later. You can sync up these notes via Samsung account or via Evernote if you want to. But I'll go ahead and start it up right now, and you can see what this is going to look like. So I'm in the editing option, so let's just draw something. I prefer to keep it on S Pen only, but you've got a wealth of options here, and we've seen some of this stuff from the Note 2 and from previous iterations of Note products, but nice to see it all together. I've got my selection mode, lasso or rectangle. I can change my text, or I can change to text rather. I can change my type of pen if I want to. I can change my color. I can change the size of the pen. Really an option here to take notes, be it a meeting, be it class, and make those your own, which I like a lot. So when I hit done, we'll save the note in the folder, and you can see it right there, and I can drag downwards to either preview it, or I can move on to a new folder just like that. Love those options. Can't talk about those enough, but you know what? We're gonna have to stop for a second and jump right into Quadrant Standard and take a look at that on both of these devices. Quad-core Snapdragon 800 CPUs on both units. We'll run the full benchmark on both. And I know, again, Quadrant Standard, not indicative of day-to-day performance. Take it with a grain of salt. Both of these phones are so fast, it's not even funny. They both have quad-core 2.3 gigahertz Snapdragon 800 CPUs. This one has 3 gigabytes of RAM. This one has 2 gigabytes of RAM. So these things are speedy all around. You're going to be happy with either one of them. I think for really the purpose rather of this dogfight battle is to distinguish what's more important to you. Do you want something a little bit more pocketable, maybe with the power and volume rocker buttons on the back, or do you want something with like an S Pen for content creation? You know, you're like me, you travel a lot for work, constantly taking notes. Maybe this option is a little bit better for you. So I think you're going to have to decide, like I say in every dogfight in 2013, you're going to have to kind of create a top 5 list of the priorities that are most important to you in your wireless device. I just tried to hit the S Pen over there and that did not work. 22,265, 20,073 over on the G2. Speed test here, you know what, we'll go ahead and run this, but we're just going to run it on the Note 3 because they're both running Verizon 4G LTE, so it's not really a network test here so much as it is just showing off Verizon's 4G LTE. They promise download speeds between 5 and 12 megabits per second, upload speeds between 2 and 5 megabits per second. I see speeds, depending on where I'm at in the Dallas Metroplex, a little slower, a little faster, usually right in that 5 to 12 megabit per second line. Right now we're seeing right on there on par, 12 megabits per second on the download. And my office is actually a notoriously bad area for both AT&T and Verizon, so keep that in mind. But upload here, a little bit on the slow side. See if we can get it at least into 2, 1.8, 1.77. Let's talk a little bit about battery life while this is taking place. 3,200 milliamp hour battery over here, 3,000 milliamp hour battery over here. Both charge pretty fast. You get USB 3.0, and there is a cable that comes out of the box on the Note 3. Both charge pretty fast. The battery winner is the Note 3 between these two, and it is removable. So if that's something that's important to you, swap out another battery on the fly. The Note 3 could be a great option for you. But again, take that top 5 list, identify the 5 most important things to you in your next mobile device, and make the decision from there. 12.93 megabits per second, 2.26. Over here, 3,000 milliamp hour non-removable. It still works exceptionally well for a if you will, non-phablet device. The battery life here is quite nice. It does beat the Galaxy S4. I get about a day and a fourth with moderate use out of the LG G2. It's a tough call between these devices as always. It depends on what you want. It depends on what's most important to you, but only one can be declared a winner, and the winner of the dogfight battle is the Galaxy Note 3. This thing brings a ton of awesome stuff together. Not to say that the G2 is not fantastic in its own right, but the Note 3 brings together the best TouchWiz experience, 3 gigabytes of RAM, the best specs, a great camera all around on both of these units, which we're going to load up and talk about as we sign off. And it has the S Pen as well. So unless you're kind of turned off by the size, this is a great option for a lot of different people. And I'll go ahead and switch this around, pardon me, to the rear-facing camera so you can see what they look like as we sign out. Lots of different options on both of these devices. You've got modes. We can go in here and take a look. Normal camera mode, scene mode, and you can see all those different options right there. Thanks so much for watching. Note 3 is the winner. Let me know which one you like more on Twitter at phonedog_Aaron, on Facebook at facebook.com/HiAaronBaker, or on Google Plus at g+t.to/phonedog. Thanks for watching. More to come with both of these devices on phonedog.com. Again, forgive me for my cough and my sinuses as I work through those and try to get better. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.